Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the administration's never mind on someone they had touted as a major mastermind of MS-13 of the Tren de Aragua transnational syndicate or drug organization. So they had a special press conference about a month ago. This is something they're doing, by the way, generally and foolishly. Bondi has done this a few times, even when charges aren't available. The definite norm here when a prosecutor brings charges is, you include on the indictment, these are only allegations, they must be proven in a court, and then if and when there's a conviction, there's still guidelines that apply, but you can lean forward a little bit more and beat your chest just a bit. This stands as a deterrent for people to know in the future that they have to pay their taxes or whatever. But what they've taken to doing, and I think about this in particular with the domestic terrorism charges they touted for the series of arsons involving Molotov cocktails and Elon Musk and Tesla's, they come out of the box, she comes out of the box and really, makes a big deal of things. And besides that it's improper because someone is innocent until proven guilty, it's a very good opportunity to wind up with egg on your face if you don't know you can prove it. That to me is, what sophisticated people are thinking about what happened yesterday, which is so not very unusual posture. You find someone you think's a bad guy, including this happens in cases where, Oklahoma City or huge crimes have occurred, but you want to put that case together, but you maybe have an easy, straightforward charge, often firearms, and that was the case with this guy. So you swear out and information, not even that's where the prosecutor does it themselves, as long as the court looks at it, and that you can hold somebody on that basis and even detain them as happened here. And then you develop your case and you supersede the indictment to add these much more serious charges. That's for all the world what they said was going to happen when they, with great fanfare, Bondi and I think Patel personally going to the office in Virginia where they had arrested this guy, Enrique, if I get it right, Josue Villatoro Santos certainly, and said, we've got a major guy. Trump said the same thing. And then just yesterday, in a much quieter way, they were, never mind, and they did the proper motion under Rule 48 to say, let's just forget about this, shall we? Maybe we'll bring it again. It is not a posture that the Department of Justice normally wants to be in. Now, they're trying to sell it, I think, as, well, we want to deport them. That's really what we want to do. We want to get these terrible killers out of the country. And here you have one of the many problems of the Department of Justice's overreach and kind of demagogic treatment of charges and, kind of attempts to dovetail with what Trump is trying to politically sell the country. Because, if this were any other Department of Justice, you'd scratch your head a little and say, wonder what's going on, but you wouldn't have entertained to the same degree the supposition that maybe they were kind of didn't have the goods when they made a big deal of it and had Trump and everyone come out of the box before, and now they look into it a little more and they don't have the case. They can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, and if they went into court, they would look, terrible and wind up with egg on their face. So they have to come forward and say, oops, never mind, and deport and go the deportation route. Now, a DOJ that had credibility, a DOJ that generally told the truth. In fact, even a DOJ in this instance, if they looked hard and said, I'm not sure the evidence is there, they would say so. But that DOJ would never, ever, ever have come out of the box with a huge Attorney General press conference and announcement, and Trump, the president himself, saying how they've gotten locked up one of the big masterminds of MS-13 and the like, so they wouldn't be in the same kind of soup as these guys are now. Now, we don't know. They didn't say it. They did it very quietly, much more so than they announced the charges. And I think in a quiet way, they will try to deport this guy, who may be able to challenge the deportation, but let's say they're right that he's a gang member, and we'll see what happens there under the Supreme Court's opinion from earlier this week that he gets to have a due process challenge. But I think most people, most DOJ alums, most sort of sophisticated prosecutors will be saying, I wonder if they got way over their skis. They wanted to give Trump a political talking point, and for that reason, they made it seem as if they'd arrested Mr. Mastermind, and then they just started to look a little bit, and they were like, uh-oh, we've got to back off this, and that's why they dismiss, Rule 48, dismiss without prejudice the actual charges, the gun charges that they used to hold him with, and are probably putting him on the deportation route. You wouldn't have this big discussion in a different Department of Justice, and you wouldn't even think, what? They did it for political reasons to help the president? I mean, that just wouldn't be a hypothesis you entertain. And look, it could be. It's possible that there's some explanation that doesn't make them look feckless and unprofessional. But unfortunately, the way this department has now been deeply corrupted, root and branch, that is the first thing that comes to mind. They're lying or withholding information. And both now, not being forthcoming, and before, when they beat their chest all the way up to the president and said, we've got Mr. Bad Guy and I, the maximum leader, am protecting you, and thank God for me. So it's just, we're jaundiced now, as we should be, because these guys, in fact, are not candid. They really are not in the best. They're in the worst traditions. They've created the worst traditions of the Department of Justice. So you got to really suspect they're not being straight up here. Anyway, the fact that to report, as the papers are, is, and it's a pretty big fact in and of itself. You have this big charge, and now you're saying never mind, but you're going to take them on the deportation route. That's noteworthy in and of itself, and then the whole, drama and reasons behind the, a lot of suppositions, especially among sophisticated prosecutors, and absolutely deserved given who this DOJ is. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.